Hello, everybody. So firstly, I want to ask, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so today I'm gonna go to discuss with you the topic regarding the MIS requirements and how to not feel guilty about it. I think it's very important and often meted topic in our work. Today I want to tell you my personal experience of my missed requirements. I want to discuss with you, yes, so some situations where it's really missed requirements, or maybe it could be not, and somebody just blamed you about this, yes. During our meeting today, we will discuss such cases. But before we started to go through the topic, I want to introduce myself to you. I have 7 years of experience as a business analyst in IT field. My work experience includes working with both with large enterprise projects and with startups as well. I worked e-commerce domain, oil and gas, e-learning, logistics, and media and entertainment. Also, I had experience working as a head of business analysis department. It was a small IT company. I prefer to say mid-size IT company. And also, I'm the co-owner of Frontetica company, which provides staff augmentation services. And also, I have two certifications. One of them, this SAP Certified Application Associate. This is a certification I got when I worked with e-commerce projects with the SAP products. So our customer requires some professional certification on this product, and also e-commerce domain took from myself 3.5 years, and it was very interesting domain for me. That's the reason why I want to get some professional certification on it. And also I see Agile certified professional. This is the start point of certifications in the like agile fundamentals. So I'm really pretty much like the agile methodology. So I wanted to get some certificate further also, but for the moment I start with a not so difficult, and the first one regarding the fundamentals. So this is about myself. Okay, so what are we going to discuss today? I want to discuss with you tricky places where you can most often miss requirements. Because, for example, during my 7 years of practice as a business analyst, I do some missing requirements in my work. In such cases, I view as a lot of business analysts and my teams do some missing requirements in these cases, and I want to show these tricky places to you and discuss them with you. Then I want to tell you about my personal experience of missed requirements. I provided such several situations and solutions, how I got out of it, and what happened next with my relationships with the customer and how it was. Then I want to speak with you how does a business analyst could defend themselves and not feel guilty about missing requirements, and what steps can be taken to reduce the risk of missing requirements. But firstly, I want to ask you to put a plus in our chat who has ever missed the requirements at least once time in your career. Please not be ashamed. I just want to see who take this problem in the work. Ooh, I'm not the only one. Great. Perfect. Okay. So I think topic of today is will be interesting for all of us. Okay, so let's start. Uh, okay, so there are actually many possible tricky places where could be missing requirements. Yes, so in the future slides I will list them and we will discuss each by step this places. But very often I want to tell you there are situations where it's actually not your fault, or where, because for example somebody could tell you that, oh, you missed requirements, but for actually this is a change request and not the missing requirements. I want to pay your attention for this because we will discuss it today a little bit later, that not every time the missing requirements is really the missing requirements. So I put, as I mentioned here, the cases, which is more usually was presented in my career during the 7 years, and most often these tricky places. And I think that this is a good statistic to put it in the presentation and to show to you and to discuss it with you. So the first one, tricky places, this is missing crucial actions for entities. So, for example, we have a document management system, yes, and there are many roles with their own accesses in the system. And it can be that the detail of any accesses is missing. For example, group editing of a document or group document signing in the system were not considered. Yes, so I think you understand the examples of such places, just to be on the same page. And very often I saw the situations when business analysts, that was situation in my team, for example, in Confluence on the software requirement specification, created the separate page for role-based model, where they of course described roles and each accesses or possible actions, what they can do in the system for each of the role. And also they have, for example, a separate page for some functionality. And here also they put some information that, like a duplicate information, that each of this role could do some actions on this functionality. And there was a lot of situation when, for example, in the role-based model page, they've written that, for example, role manager can edit the document type X, and on the page of the functionality where described the document type X, they wrote that another role can edit it and no words regarding the manager role. And in these cases, you try to understand where the truth, yes, where the source of truth, to which page I should look, or a lot of questions from the developers that is very confusing, that we don't understand. Please clarify, please specify. And it's going to be situations that you miss something, yes. So for example, or you miss something on the role-based model page, or you miss something on the functionality page, or you just when duplicating the requirements, put the mistakes on it. So it could be different situations, but very often I see here in this place of crucial actions for entities, the point where the business analyst could miss something regarding this situation. Another tricky place, this is missing user groups. I really saw these situations when in the step of gathering requirements, when you spoke with the customer, it could be both situations, or the customer don't tell you, for example, for some user group, or the business analyst don't really gather this information fully. And for example, if in the late stages of the project you can define that, oh my God, here is one user groups more or two user groups more, it's of course will be very difficult because firstly, of course, developer want to see this role-based model and to understand how many roles there and what are accesses they have. And when you, for example, do the half of the system and then just realize that, oh my God, we need to put two more user groups, it's very not good and comfortable situations for all the team. So this case I also see many times. Also, it could be tricky when, for example, you writing the user story. Yes, we have this point as some kind of user, I want to, and so on. So, and sometimes, for example, I saw the specifications when the business analyst wrote as a user, and it's not understanding what kind of user. Yes, so it's also part of missed requirements in case of preparing the user stories in this way. Next case, I think it's pain of all of us. Maybe it's only my pain, but this is non-functional requirements are not considered. This is a very common case, really. I did these mistakes in my career. I saw a lot of missed requirements from my colleagues, business analysts. And when working on non-functional requirements, my opinion that it is very important to involve a team of architects and developers. So as not to miss anything important, because non-functional requirements collected more technical information, yes, and they have more expertise than we, yes, in this topic. So also there could be situation that we can go overboard, which can increase the cost of the development. And the customer did not expect this, yes, because, for example, I saw the situation when the business analyst provide by himself some requirements about the safety, about the performance of the systems, and by himself he prepared these requirements, and, and then it will really a little bit shock the prices to the customer because it was very expensive solution for them. So non-functional requirements. Then missing alternative and exclusionary scenarios in our requirements. So this case, this type of place of missing requirements, I see most often with newcomers, yes, who is only just started to be the business analyst, the juniors, yes, because they don't have a lot of experience, a lot of how to say, a lot of point of view with a lot of systems, yes, to understand the possible alternative and exclusionist scenarios, and and because of it, they can't ask the right questions from the customer. But sometimes when we came across a very complex system, yes, that the customer himself does not understand well, the situations is happen very often. For this reason, the business analyst might not take into account some alternative exclusion scenarios because, for example, the customer, because of his not fully understanding, did not provide full information to the business analyst. This also could be situations why could be missing alternative exclusion scenarios. But it's also very tricky place, and the most often place I saw from my colleagues where it could be missing. This slide is very related to my next slide. The last one, when the customer himself did not tell about some necessary functionality in the system, and not just about an alternative scenario, yes, and about exclusionary scenario, but about a piece of logic that, for example, yes, just imagine the situation. The project includes the customer will have the current existing system, and they want to create the new one, but based on their current system. And there could be situation then, for example, they don't use some or part of functionality, and because of this, they forgot to tell it about us. But then it turns out that they want to see it in the new system. And they could propose it to you that you are missed requirements. Yes, because, for example, we give to you use our current system, why you don't put this functionality to the scope? Yes, but in this case, it's very important to turn out to the functional list which you agreed inside with the customer, and if this functionality is missed there and was not approved with the customer, it's not a missing requirement. It's a change request in case of, for example, waterfall methodology, or it's a new functionality which should be put to the backlog and provided a little bit later with some sprints. Sometimes, that's why I'm firstly, when we start our topic, I put your attention that not every time when the customer tried to offend you that this is the missing requirements, not. Sometimes, like in case I provided for you now, this is absolutely not a missing requirement. This is a change request. Now I want to speak about my personal experience with missed requirements. I want to show you a different situation from my experience where it was really my fault and how I got out of it, as well as where it was not my fault. Okay, so the first situation, that was the chatbot functionality in the e-commerce mobile app. That was my favorite e-commerce project about I spoke when I introduced myself. So the chatbot was required by the product owner to be triggered only from the user's personal account. The product owner collected requirements from the business. So our situation on the project was like Product owner is have conversations with the business side, collected all the requirements, put it on a high level, yes, and then business analysts further worked through this information which got the product owner. But this high level list of requirements product owner got from the business side. So we realized the functionality, the chatbot, and other functionality. We had a demo, and after the demonstration, one of the stakeholders got very angry. And I want to mention, yes, here I mentioned that this stakeholder was on the approval list, and he approved my requirements and the design of our designer. And he said that it was unacceptable. The chatbot should be triggered from any screen in the mobile app. So not only from the personal account, but from any screen in the mobile application. And I was given a reprimand that I didn't work out the requirements well and I missed it. So this is my fault. And the client was very angry about this and so on. So what the solution was here? So I suggested a separate call with the stakeholder from the business side and the product owner. The product owner was on my side, very thankful for this pretty woman, but that wasn't enough for the business because then he started blaming the two of us, that this is the fault of two of us, and we provide our work in a very poorly way. So what I did, I asked for 5 minutes of time, looked at significant competitors' applications and took screenshots of their implementation. Because this is e-commerce project was it was a very big business, yes, it was enterprise business, and he has a lot of also big competitors in this field. And so none of them had a chatbot in their mobile application on every screen. And I use this that as a reason and argument to the customer that please see, this is competitors, which you all the time research some functionality from these competitors, see like they realize this functionality. It worked for the business. At least he stopped blaming us for everything, but he said he still wanted to test the chatbot hypothesis with a call to all screens. And also, I didn't put this to the slide, but the main thing that I also remind him that he was on the approval list and he approved my requirement. And the real picture was that he really transferred to the product owner the chatbot should be only on one screen on the personal account. But of course, it was, for example, 2 months ago, we realized this feature in 2 months, and he forgot about this and just started to blame us that this is a missed requirement, it should be on every screen. I told to you that it should be on every screen, and so on. So when I put his attention that he is from an approval list, we try to speak about the situation. After this, we realized that that was really his first requirements, and the product owner found his email regarding is for 2 months ago. And after then, we started discussing it already in the context of change request rather than poor design requirements on our part. So it was a little bit nervous situation, yes, but as you see, some arguments with the competitors' mobile application, and also pay attention to him that he was on the approval list, and product owner is really try to find this email with his first requirements really helps us. And it's also very important to have this meeting notes because you can transfer the customer's attention that you see, you really told it for us. So this was requirements from your side. It's not requirements from my side. So, and like this, we finishing the small conflict regarding these requirements about chatbot functionality. So the next situation is very, how to say, I think it's more poorly situation in my career when I miss the requirement. I will tell you now. Okay, so we have been developing a very secure admin panel for one system. When we were in the process of fixing the scope of the functionality, the customer said that they wanted automatic logout functionality from the system, from the admin panel. I described the specification and send it to the client and to the development team for review. I got all the approvals, everything is okay. So when the functionality was developed, at the demo, the customer asked, why isn't there a normal logout? And here I was ready to fall through the ground because I'm a senior business analyst and they made this mistake like this. I forgot about usual logout from the system. At that time, I was very deep into the concept of the admin panel. I also acted as a product owner and strongly thought out what functionality it should have. That's what the customer demanded to me. So, plus I had other projects in parallel, and I simply missed this usual and small and not difficult requirement. As a result, it was a very difficult period for me because both the team and the customer got very angry at me and blamed me in a very rude way. Because the situation in our team in that period was not very, how to say, not very healthy. So I also was very pushed, not only from the customer, but only from the team as well. So regarding solution, it's not difficult for me to admit where I'm really at fault. Yes, so the requirements are my area of responsibility. I understand this, but in the process of reviewing was involved and the team that approved this specification and did not say me a word that, for example, Kseniya, oh my God, you forgot the usual logout functionality, please add it, and so on. Accordingly, I began to realize that this is not just my fault and my team has no right to judge and blame me. So this is our shared responsibility, and the team must remain a team at all times in any situation. So it must be support, it must be help and constructive criticism, but not accusation and aggression to each other. It's not a healthy atmosphere, and it's very not a right way how to work with each other and solve the situation like this. So what I did regarding the team, I decided to organize a general call with the team without the customer. Yes, it only was my team and the project manager from my team. So to bring my thoughts to them. After that, of course, they felt a little shame, not all of them, but a big part of the team. And many apologized to me because on that meetings, I'm not fully discussed this situation of missing requirements of the logout functionality. I mostly try to uh, reorganize the atmosphere and the relationships in our team between each other, because a friendly team is 50% of success. And I try to bring my thoughts to them and to clarify that we should work like not only in this situation like this, but on which project with each functionalities, with each tasks. Because we're a small family, we integrated to the projects maybe for half an a year. Sometimes it could be 1 year, 2 years, and more. And we could be helpful to each other and not blame for such these situations. So regarding the customer, we apologized to the customer and offered to report it as a bug. That is the mean that the customer doesn't pay for it. So, but pointed out that we always send the requirements for checking, just avoid such situations and to make a double check of the described functionality. The customer agreed that this is their product and they should get more involved in the with more feedback to us. So I haven't worked on this project for a long time, but we still have a good relationship with this customer and we congratulate each other on our birthdays with Happy New Year's and so on. And the prolongation of our relationship after these situations will be very good and friendly, because that was like a situation, like a small trigger that we need to discuss how to work with each other. Yes, so of course we understand this is our fault, we understand, we apologize, we customer don't pay for it. Yes, so everything is okay, but also we pointed from ourselves that it's very important them to involve to this product, because they're business owners, they need to investigate and understand what is coming up in our analysis. So we understand each other, and I think this case which I told to you By this case, I want to show you that at the moment when I realized that I missed as a senior business analyst the functionality like this with a serious customer, I think that's all. That the customer didn't want to prolong the relationships with me, that he asked to change the business analyst or something else. I was really upset about this, but I think the situation shows that it's not the end. And after all situations like this, everything could be okay by the right way how to solve these issues. The next situation, that was e-commerce project. We had discovery phase, which took a month. So for discovery phase, we engaged the business analyst from our team. It was not me. It was another business analyst who was supposed to analyze the document received from the customer, start the analysis, ask questions, and if the time is possible, to make some mockups for this functionality. So during this month, we spent several calls with the business and made the document. After that, we began the phase of business analysis, in which we began to describe in detail the requirements on the basis of the document made in the discovery phase. And on the business analysis phase, I took this business analysis phase. So discovery phase was prepared by the business analyst from our team, and business analysis phase took I from myself. We, in our agreement with the customer, we had a planned business trip to their site. So, and after 1 month of business analysis phase, we fly to the customer site, where we, me and architects, had to show that we were moving in the right direction, coordinate some of the documentation with them, yes, so show them mockups and so on. So just to figure out that everything is okay. And the situation was like this. During the business trip, we found out that we don't describe all what the customer wants. That during the discovery phase, our analyst got it all wrong and missed a lot of functionality. And of course, they rejected our mockups because they was uncomfortable for them. Mockups, of course, also include missing the part of functionality. They was angry, so they told for us that everything is awful. So it was also very terrible situation, because you are on the customer side, just you and 2 architects, and we are 3 persons, and the customer part, it was like 15 persons, and they're just, every of them was angry, they shout, and it was very not healthy situation on that case. We spent 2 days of the trip gathering their vision of the system. Then we returned from the business trip and tried to review the documentation, of course, from the gathered information on these 2 days on the trip. The difficulty was that in parallel with their wishes, yes, the wishes was very, very a lot of. They put their wishes every day and sometimes several times in a day. So we got lost and confused in all the documents that we received from them. We were in touch with them 24/7. So it was very nervous part of our work after this business trip. In the end, we took the courage to push a number of their wishes to the backlog, but made them a fully working system that is 100% consistent with their needs. So of course, we put mostly with high level priority functionality, yes, to the first scope, but they put a lot of wishes, and they also want their wishes put it to the first scope of realization of this product, yes. And it was, and of course we have some deadlines for this. It was impossible. So we just pushed some number of wishes to the backlog and really made for them working system, which is really 100% consistent with their needs. So result, we went to a big loss, I mean, in the amount of money, because of the initially poorly presented discovery phase and a large number of missing requirements was. But the client got warm to us because we quickly rehabilitated ourselves in his eyes and worked as quickly and closely as possible as a team. constantly proceed their wants, and a bench of documentation answered almost 24/7 and held meetings for 3-5 hours daily. It was really daily and so big meetings. And after meetings, a lot of documents, as I mentioned, with the wishes. It was very stressful time period of working, but we really do it very fastly and proceed everything what they sent to us. And my personal opinion that the most important thing here was not how hard and how fast we worked, but that we were a team. As I previously mentioned, yes, from another case, I think you see the difference. We were friendly, coordinated, supportive each other, and helping each other. And every time, for example, if some technical requirements we received from the customer, architects every time help us as a business analyst to understand. We draw a lot of diagrams for this, fastly sent it to the customer check it, sent us back. So it was very collaborative work. It was really hard and fast, but the most thing that I appreciate here, this is a teamwork. It's very important in such cases. And I think, as I mentioned, yes, you understand that there was a big loss um, in our team, in our company for this project. Yes, so it was a very sad situation. But the main thing that nobody blamed this guy who, firstly, yes, as you remember, who firstly provided discovery fast. Nobody blamed him. Nobody said rude words for them. Nobody do this. So from our team, we understand, yes, of course, this is his fault. He provided not a good discovery fast, but okay, each of us could be on his place. And this team was very wonderful for their friendliness to each other. So this is was regarding my personal experience with missing requirements. If somebody interested, I can tell more about this, but we have some time deadlines, so that's why I picked the three most important cases to me, and which shows very well the situation of misrequirements and how could we solve this. So how does a business analyst defend themselves, yes, and not feel guilty about missing requirements? Okay, so firstly, yes, accept the fact that we are all human and it's okay to make mistake. Really, this is the first rule I always follow, and I'm agree for 100% with two of these quotes. Yes, the first one is that the only man who makes no mistakes is the man who never does anything. And the second one, that we shall make mistakes, and if we let these mistakes frighten us from our work, we shall show ourselves weaklings. So I'm agree that doing mistakes is a first point that we are doing something, we tried, we're learning. So it's absolutely normal situation. It's only because of mistakes we can build up the knowledge base of such situations and understand how, for example, further avoid this. Yes. So from my side, I'm very for example, when I had my first misrequirements, and when I firstly said the rude words from the customer, of course I'm not think the same. But during several situations like this, I really accept the fact that we are all human and this is really okay. And this is wonderful that we have work where we could do these mistakes. That means we are working, we are learning. So this is perfect experience in our life. This is my really opinion. The second thing, remember that you are a part of the team, one for all and all for one. A team, not a single business analyst, is responsible for implementing the project. If there are missed requirements, first of all, it's not the fault of one business analyst, but of the whole team. And you should understand this and approach such situation together in a friendly and positive way, not through stones at one of the team members. Of course, I think somebody from you can tell me that, but for example, Kseniya, but requirements, this is your part of responsibility, yes? And for example, to prepare solution design, this is a part of architecture. I'm agree with you. But if we speak in scope of whole the project, This is our shared responsibility. We, each person who participated in the project is responsible for this project. And for example, of course, if architecture will do some mistakes in solution design or some in architecture on some diagrams, architectural, yes, of course, he can't say that, oh, it's not my fault, but the team should be realized by another way, not blame, not through the stones, but in positive. For example, try to give some help in these cases. Yes, so we should solve these such of cases together. If you could help, please help. If you, for example, you don't understand everything in this question, please just support this guy. Okay, if you can't help, no problem. Okay, of course I understand, but please support. And this is very important part, I think, of each project, of each team, to be one for all and all for one. Also, it's necessary to validate for which missing requirements you can be blamed. For example, if you as a business analyst didn't describe the architecture of the application, yes, it's connected with my previous speech, and you were blamed for it, it's not business analyst issue and you don't have it to do it, yes? So for example, if somebody, you have architect in the project, for example, somebody told you, oh my God, you missed the requirements about the architecture, you didn't draw the diagram, but you didn't do it. Yes, so of course this is responsibility of architect. It's but yes, for example, in such situations, architect may involve you in a collaborative discussion, so you could be the participator of the architecture. Yes, so you could help with some requirements to architecture, so it's collaborative work. It could be, but nobody can send you, this is your fault, that is no some requirements regarding the architecture. I give here, put here a note, yes, so I gave an example from my experience for my projects. So for example, as a business analyst, I have never been required to describe the architecture of a future system. So for example, I was involved on describing the integrations. I was involved for some, for example, once time I was involved to some SQL part of work, but it was only one time. But if your organization project has different rules, this example is not appropriate for you. So it's need to understand. I just explained from my experience because in my experience in each of projects, for example, the architecture, it was part only for architects or a collaborative work where we work together, but not only myself provide some architectural work on the project. So what steps can be taken to reduce the risk of missed requirements? This is using of different techniques. Yes, expressing requirements in different formats can help you find missing requirements. So for example, try to describe requirements in text form. Then try to draw some diagrams for some functionalities and prototypes. And you could see that, for example, you will have a text format, diagrams, and prototypes, some inconsistencies, yes, that will draw attention to potential missing requirements. Because when you describe the requirements only in the text form, you can, like, for example, view it only, not very widely, like, for example, with the diagram, yes? And when you draw the diagram, to visualize some process or prototypes, it really, I'm not could say that in each cases, but in most of them, it could really help to find a potential missing requirements, because the visualizing is more widely, presents a more widely picture of what happens. The next point, avoid omission indicators. So these are words in your requirement documents that indicate something might be missing. For example, words like TBD, etc., so on, not limited to, and as minimum indicate that there's still some information your document has not covered. Also to be present later, I saw in such documents, yes. So each indicators, which, for example, give for us some kind of information that there should be some requirements, but we don't see it. So it's very big mistake to leave the specification with this omission indicator. So when you finish the documentation, please review it, just Control F, row TBD, etc., to be present later, or something like this, and to check yourself with these indicators, because this is the first call that something is not included, something could be missing in this document specification. The third one, interviews with various stakeholders. So we need to ask questions of different stakeholders to make sure that we understand the requirements and scope of specific requirement. The main important thing, the scope of specific requirement, yes, because, for example, we could speak about any functionality and understand that, for example, yes, like in my situation with logout, yes, I listened that only automatically logout functionality, and that's all, and forgot about the usual logout. So we need to understand the scope of specific requirement, yes, to not avoid how it's huge could be. And it's necessary to identify a list of people who are the decision makers among all the stakeholders. Because, for example, there could be situations that you have a conversation with some stakeholders, you align with them the requirements, you approve it with them, and when you have a demo, you will realize that another stakeholder is a decision maker and you didn't discuss with him the functionality ever. And of course, he could say, oh, why, for example, there is missed functionality. I want this functionality. And in this case, he will be right because he is decision maker. So when you have a stakeholder identification at the start of the project, you could, for example, provide some RICE matrix, yes, for stakeholders, or also table view for stakeholders identification is also used as well. And just mark who is the necessary person, who is decision maker, with whom, for example, from the stakeholders, you can collect information and have a nice conversation and so on, but with whom you should really approve and who is very important for the approval process, and do not miss them. And the first point, do validation with the testing and development team. Yes, so when you finish the requirement, check with the development team and testing. How practice show, it's not very working sometimes step of validation of requirements, but testing team, in my practice, testing team review requirements very perfect. Because they also use then requirements to provide after that the test cases, yes, so, and they really very carefully read the requirements. With the development team, as you see on my experience cases, yes, not each time development team read documents as well as we want, and stamp the approval and then realize that they didn't read the document. But I really suggest to do it each time, because in one of the projects, when we integrate the process of reviewing the requirements with the development team in the testing team, we reduce the amount of bugs. It also was, it's a little bit also one plus regarding, not except of the missing requirements, but another plus that we really reduced the amount of bugs. So this is my suggestion to provide the validation and try to somehow to agree with the development team to read this documentation, because it's really, every has a benefits from it, and them and you as a business analyst and testing team. So it's very good point to do. So thank you for your attention from my side. For the moment, that's all what I want to speak, that I want to tell to you. Maybe you have some questions, or maybe you have some, maybe some your stories from the missing requirements which you want to tell. For me, it's also will be interesting because I'm sharing only my experience and the experience of my close colleagues. And for me, it's also interesting to listen to your stories if somebody wants to present it.
Thank you, Kseniya. In the chat, if you have some questions, you can add them to the chat, or you can add, just ask anything. For me, it was really interesting to listen, and in fact, all, I guess, in all the cases, I was thinking of some projects that I had, and a lot of various situations were popping out in my mind. So I really relate to your stories. One thing I wanted to ask in the beginning, you mentioned about change requests. So for me, it's a question: how do you personally decide what is the missed requirement and what should be treated as a change request? You know, if you already have a huge specification, then yes. But in such cases as you forgot logout button, of course that's obvious that user should be able to log in to log out from the system. But if nobody mentions that there might be some functionalities that nobody is speaking about, and how do you treat what should be what is missed and what is just additional thing?
I want to tell you, okay, so for example, regarding the change request, yes. So if we speak, for example, regarding the agile methodology, as everybody knows, the change request, any change in situations are pleased in the agile, yes, and everybody loved the changing in the agile. So this methodology provides these points of view, yes. If we speak about, for example, waterfall methodology, of course, this is change request, and this change request for what should, in waterfall, like, how do we, that? Yes, so if, for example, we prepare the specification requirements, yes, and then move it to the development team. And for example, there could be situation when we gather the change request. So from the customer, we receive some message, oh my God, there should be some functionality. In this case, this is a change request for which customer should pay, yes? And for waterfall methodology is not very, if in agile methodology, it's more easy. Yes, we put it to the backlog and put some priority and align it to the process, yes? And in waterfall methodology, it's a little bit difficult because we need to have, I don't know how, for example, you do this. I created the separate documents, or I put it on the created documents, the part of change request, marked some identifiers for which type of functionality this change request is done, and provided new requirements. So this is a general information regarding the change request, backlog, and so on, when it's easy, when it's more difficult. Regarding how to identify, yes, so where it's a change request, and where it's missing requirements, where it's a bug, and so on. So, for example, when we, firstly, this is my big advice for each of us. When, if it's possible in your company, when you understand that you sign the contract with the customer, please, in this contract, in this agreement, should be the list of functionality which should be covered. If, for example, I don't know, in each company it's assigns difference. Yes, for example, we speak about business analysis work, so for requirements work. In this agreement should be the list of features that business analysts should cover, should analysis, should describe requirements, and so on. So please, if it's possible in your company, ask your sales team and your project manager who have this document to review what is included to this document. Because sometimes I really have such cases in my practice. The sales team put it, the list of requirements as they want without thinking who will be working with them further. And if the time is if we have a time, I can tell you a small story regarding the situation with the missing requirements. I can prolong, or we don't have a lot of time, because it's also interesting story.
Yes, we usually have about half an hour for questions, answers,
Yes.
and discussion. So I think
Okay.
While there are some people, we can have some time.
The situation was that we agree with the customer for analysis path. Yes, so we have an agreement with them. We have a list of features. Everything was cool. And I had a business trip to the customer side because I should work with their current system and to start to gathering the requirements on their side. So when I flew to the customer side on the first day in the office of the customer, they sent me the file which was included on the agreement, as I thought, with all the features. When I opened this file, I saw 140 features, besides the 60 on which we agreed. I was a little bit shocked, and we tried to understand what the situation, and IT department of the customer sends for us not a correct document. We signed it without any clarification with the customer and so on. And that's all. And on my 2 weeks of trip to the customer, I need to put not investigation of 60 functionalities, but 140. But of course, I started with them a priority of the features and so on. Everything was okay in the situation, but this is a good example to check what is included on the feature list on the agreement with the customer. So when you check that, yes, when you clarify it with the customer that everything is okay, everything should be put it here, no edits, so on. So you started to work. And for example, if there could be situation that the customer, for example, you have logins to the application through the email and password, yes, and that's all. And for example, if in any case, in 1 month, customer said to you that I want, why it's only email and password? I also want registration by phone number and the code sent by SMS. You show to him the requirements list in which you agreed with them. Yes, you signed this. You clarify, double check as a business analyst this list with the customer and told to him that was not included in our scope. So, for example, if this is agile methodology, we can offer to him to put it on the backlog, to put some priority. If it's very high priority, okay, we can take it to this sprint, but it's not very good situation. But it's like an example. If it's a waterfall methodology, we also show to him that it's not provided on our agreement. So this is a new functionality. This is a change request. So we should add this requirement new, and the customer should pay for this. We will spend our time for investigation, for describing, yes, so it was not agreed on our scope and our money, yes, on which we agreed. And so that's the reason why it should be change request. So in this situation, firstly, when you try to identify what is change request, is to see what is included on your feature list. So if customer wants something that is not included in this feature list, this is a change request 100%. So for example, in situation when you, like my situation was, yes, when the customer told me that they want the logout automatic functionality from the admin panel, yes, it's really logically that there should be usual logout. It's how to say, it's not a question that I should clarify with the customer. It's really logically, but I missed this. And in this case, okay, this is really my fault, and we apologize from the customer, and we do it like a bug. So the customer didn't pay for this. But it's not important how we report it on the system, because it was our case, yes. The main thing that the customer didn't pay for this, and we apologize to him. So when, for example, you really understand that you have a discussion with the customer, but you forgot to put it in the requirements, yes. So this is why everybody tells that meeting notes, it's a very good technique. Because when you, after some meetings with the customer, some discussion of requirements, create the meeting notes, when you bullet some important points of the requirement and so on. So everybody, you make safety firstly yourself, because when the customer could tell you, oh no, I don't want this functionality, you can show me, no, you want this. Yes, this is meeting note from the 1st of March, for example. Yes, so you want it. Or for example, you can just by self not miss something when you provide meeting notes, because in my practice, a lot of missing requirements happens when we have a long conversation with the customers for 3 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours calls, yes, and there are a lot of information. Of course, you have a recorded call, but it also sometimes you don't want to spend your time, yes, to listen to the big, huge calls. And in these cases, there could be some missing points from the customer. And if, for example, it's the customer really told regarding some functionality, yes, and you didn't provide it, this is a missing requirement. So that's why I'm asking everybody to provide meeting note, just for safety yourself and to be sure that you didn't missing. And safety regarding the customer say to you that, oh my God, I didn't tell you this functionality is not needed. And for example, the bugs, it's also interesting topic, because I have the project where we have a fight with the testing team. What is the bug and what is not, and what is the feature? Bugs most probably, my opinion, happens when really development team poorly read the requirements. Because when you have document with all the requirements, for example, you're not missing something, yes, but you wrote, for example, there should be a button, you provide some mockups, or designer prepared that it should be a red button, but then you see that the developer realization it's blue button. Yes, so of course, this is a bug. It's his fault that he didn't follow the design, didn't follow the requirements. If it's written in the requirements and had in the design, and developer make this mistake, this is a bug. So from my opinion, I separate these three points, yes, like this, as I mentioned. If something was not understandable in my clarification, please tell me. I will try to explain in another way. Do you listen to me?
Yeah, thank you for the answer. I was just waiting, maybe there are some more people who could have some questions or some situations to share.
Yes, please. It's very interesting to listen also you, because this is a very tricky topic and very important, I think, for each of us. So please, maybe someone want to share the story and your experience.
Well, not really an experience. It's Git here. Can you hear me? Because I'm with new headset. Not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah, sure. This is missed requirements. Yeah, everybody, I think, had at least one was in the career. But anyway, I found that using templates for documents is one of the best way to, how to say, to be on safe side and not miss any requirement, even small, and just because most of them actually, okay, maybe not most of them, but at least many of them happens when you just forget to ask about it, and actually you should not expect always the customer or anybody just will tell what we need. So it's like well, we can call it like a reusing requirement, but I would say it's like a standard templates for different functionality. So it's what we usually do, and it's how to say, it works for me. And well, that was my like note. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting to listen. Maybe someone else want to add their thoughts about this.
Somebody else has, then I have another question about non-functional requirements, because for me, and as I've noticed for quite many people in our organization, I think it's the most, maybe not painful, but the most difficult part to get full understanding of this and not to forget, because it's usually that if you forget a non-functional requirement, if you don't think about it in the beginning, when you start to think about it somewhere in the middle or at the end of the project, then it's quite often the situation that you have to redo a lot of things in order to fix it or to implement that requirement. I think with functionality, it's a little bit easier when with non-functional requirements around which whole the system should be built. So how do you usually manage those things?
I can give you an advice what I provide when I was the head of the business analysis department. I create like a small document that like a checklist with all necessary non-functional requirements, which should be, yes, which should not forget about this like a business analyst. Yes, so we should remember every time of such, for example, fit performance, safety, sustainability, and so on. Yes, so we should remember of this. So I prepared a small checklist for my team of business analysts and provide to them and ask them when they start any of projects, doesn't matter, to use this checklist and step by step discuss each of these points on the checklist with the architects or with the development team, with for example, backend engineers and so on. Because it's also my opinion, in each book of business analysis, yes, for example, in the Vigger's book, in the BA book, yes, we have information that, of course, this part of the requirements is our part. Yes, so we should describe it. We can't forget about this. Yes, we should investigate this and so on. But my opinion that the non-functional requirements is really a technical part. And for example, from my side, I don't have technical education. And the guys who is engineers, yes, architects, they have. And in this topic, they're more have expertise than me. And I prefer each time to have this checklist to myself, just to remember that all these points should be covered on the requirements. But each of these points, I every time discuss with the development team, because they could give me some, because I can miss something. Yes, I cannot understand something. I can provide not correct performance for the system. Yes, and sometimes, for example, customer could tell you the requirements about the performance. Yes, but when you discuss this requirement with the development team, they can tell to you, oh my God, no, it should be by a lot of servers. No, for this project, for example, for startups, it's not a reason to do like this performance. Yes, so we suggest to do it in another way. And each of the time I prefer to do like this, so have this checklist and discuss step by step with them.
Basically, checklist and templates, I would say, is very the same. Okay, not technically the same, but when you have like template to fill, it's like a checklist as well. So yeah, I agree. Checklists and templates, yeah, way to go.
Yeah, it's just a useful reminder for us. Yes, like of course we as a business analyst, we are focused on trying to understand what business want. Yes, what they need, what their pains, what we want to solve, and regarding the functionality. And of course, this part sometimes could be forgotten. But so that's a good point, just to not forget it, to have this checklist, understand that we should have it, and as I mentioned, to discuss with engineers. I can ask you one question to you. It's really interesting for me. Do you have, in my cases, I provide a situation when, for example, I had a not very friendly team, and it was also very pushed to me. Yes, so it's very, when I worked on the project, I'm tried very integrated to the team and try to be, it's really a small family. And that situation, it was very difficult for me, yes, when the team was in not healthy atmosphere. I want to ask you, am I alone in this topic, or somebody from you also have the problems like this with the teams? Had you ever had such a team which should not help you and so on? So for example, of course, it's not in each project and not in each company I met. It was only I met it only on one company and in one project. But I very remember the situation, and for the moment, I try to to try to figure out that in the team everything is okay. So for me, it's interesting. How was your experience?
at least for me, I had experience of various teams. With some, it's everything. You can rely on all the team members, and you know that you will be understood from a single word, and that if you miss something, then testers or developers will come to help and will tell you that that there are some gaps in your requirements. Maybe you should discuss that with the client and so on. And yeah, I also had some teams where it was quite difficult to get such a feedback, and the only feedback that you got was like that one when they point with the finger that you missed requirements. So then, yeah, I really understand that in such situations, the work of the business analyst is really hard, because then not only the customer then can say that you missed something, but also the team, and you are like somewhere in the middle of the battlefield and trying to satisfy all the sides. So I really wish that all the business analysts would work in such teams and with such customers with whom you can work as a team and really focus on the end product or project that you have, because I think that all sides are interested in the same thing, and they should really try to work as a team. So that's at least my experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just quit toxic team or toxic company. That's all. A lot of jobs, no problem. Just well, usually you have your like a supervisor, superior, manager. You just say, okay, if it continues, so I don't want to fight. Like, it's not my problem to fight. So if it continues, look for another analyst already. Sort of that. And that's all. And another cases of just we're not perfect, and how to say perfect is the enemy of the good. So don't expect of yourself to be perfect every time.
Thank you very much. I saw Sandra want to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add actually that sometimes it's not just like fighting, but you feel like nobody supports you. I mean, no one is like loudly blaming you or something, but you feel that there is no support, and actually then it's the time when you feel guilty when you miss something, or that you didn't write anything or something correctly. So it's just like, yeah, I feel also like this sometimes lack of support, and I don't know which is like better or worse, fight or this lack of support. So yeah, just my opinion.
I think we opened to all of us a new interesting separate topic regarding the healthy atmosphere in team.
Yeah.
Hi, I would want to share my experience, and I think I am the lucky one, because in my experience I had only good teams and team atmosphere. Of course, there are maybe one or two person often who maybe less care about the project, about the team, maybe one which likes to be separate. But in all, I wasn't blamed in any project, as I remember. So I hope that it will continue in my experience. So thank you for presentation. It was very useful and interesting, and very good recap what happened to relate to know what may come maybe one day. So thank you, Kseniya.
Thank you very much for your feedback, and thank you very much that you tell about your experience, because you are really lucky person. Okay, so maybe somebody wants also to add some thoughts regarding this.
Actually, I remembered one thing. The team, like internal one, where in team there are only one company, usually it is good, but often customer is not friendly and not knows how to work, doesn't know the development life cycle, and this aspect is a pain in the ass as you should educate from the scratch with a new client. So this is also new topic. It might be not new topic about the client interactions.
Yeah, I think with customers, well, clients, it's sometimes even not the case that they are hostile or unfriendly towards analysts, but sometimes they even don't understand the really role of the business analyst and don't see the value that we are bringing to the project or to the team. And I think sometimes there are situations that it's quite difficult to have good relationships just because of that. But I think that's another topic for another presentation and for another discussions, sharing your own stories.
And for example, the current customer doesn't know their role in the project, so that is a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
not like
I absolutely agree.
Not like support analyst role. They understand and they respect it, of course, but they doesn't know what we expect from them. So it is a challenge in the whole project. Now it's in the end, so I am waiting for it to go live.
Okay, so I think our time is already going out. Any final thoughts about this, or we should leave everything for the rest meetings? If somebody still wants to add something, maybe you, Kseniya, or somebody we can have, and then I think we should
I just
finish
want
for today.
to thank you to all of us that you are coming to listen my presentation. This is very important for me because I put here my personal experience, and as you see, one of them was very sensitive for me. So I want to thank you very much for your attention and for your feedback. It's very important for me. So yes.
Okay, so thank you, Kseniya. And for everybody else, if you have any stories or topics that you would like to share, just tell us, just write in the groups and so on, or maybe you don't want to share yourself, but you have some topics that are interesting and you would like to hear about them, then also let us know. We'll try to find somebody who can share their experience on that. So thank you all for your time today, and see you next time, I think.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you very much. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.